I said, Hank, can you rock? Can you rock? Now listen, if you know, if you know that verse, you've been around for a long time and you've seen a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? Listen, that song, that part has been like stuck in my head like throughout the day. I don't know why, but I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of that song going towards the end. That was when you made records that were basically like 20 minutes long. And the song I'm referring to is Rapper's Delight. There's the radio version. There's about, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's probably 4 different versions to that song. There's the 12-inch version. On the flip side, there's the short version, but then there's another version that they played in Rapmania, which had the Bobby Bird, because they tried to get the jazz it up with the 90s, by putting the Hot Pants I'm Coming drum break behind it, so to give it that 90s feel. Like, that's a whole nother episode, in terms of like sample drums that were popular in the 90s, but that was one of them. Hot Pants I'm Coming, Bobby Bird. But then they had another one, which is a house version, I've heard. So it's probably like multiple versions of that song. But those are the 4 that stand out in my mind. Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang. But I wanted to kind of go into, what I talked about before in terms of the playing for holiday events. So I got word back, this guy was out there playing. I get reports all the time. That's another reason how I find out people are biting my sets too. But that's another conversation. People talk to me, so I've been getting calls for years. But in terms of like just feedback and but anyhow, I got word, I got the skinny, that they had this little corporate event, and the dude, he plugged up or whatever, but the thing about it is, you never know if a real DJ is in the crowd. You could kind of smell it, but you really don't know, because he may look like a square to you, but he can throw down, so that's the whole catch. So you got to be careful. You DJs, you gotta, you new DJs got to be on point, because we out in the crowd. You may think, I'm the dude that, he ain't paying attention. Oh, I'm paying attention, and now if you're really good, I'm gonna actually come up to you and give it up to you, and most likely give you a few pointers, give you some free game. But typically, there's always a real one in the crowd. You can't point them out, but they're there. So anyhow, my buddy, he gives me the skinny, the dude, he does his thing, because it is, when you're young, in all fairness, when you're a young developing DJ, you're not gonna necessarily bat 1,000 all the time. You have to go through those learning curves, and those learning curves will help you grow as a DJ. How are you gonna get better if you don't know your mistakes? So in all fairness, you gotta let them grow and develop. But at the same token, listen to other great people, not in the sense of I'm going to borrow their style or steal from them, but to get an idea of how that DJ engages with the audience and how they go from one record to another. Because people have a misconception. There's 2 different type of DJs. There's the Serato DJ. Oh, I won't say Serato because I love Serato. Shout out to Serato. There's the laptop DJ, and there's the vinyl DJ. And the laptop DJ, it's a different mentality. They're getting their rhythms from somebody's hard drive, Somebody gives them a thumb drive, and hey man, they don't know what they're doing. So they're navigating through songs they most likely don't even know. While a vinyl DJ, we're gonna go through each record, and we know who the producer is, we know who the engineer is. Okay, Christopher Cross. Okay, Steely Dan. Okay, Missy Elliott, whoever. And we know how to navigate through each song, because many of us, I'm bold enough to say 95% of us grew up listening to the whole album. Okay, so you have a different set of ears, and you're going to go through those records a little bit different in terms of approach. So fast forward, here's the thing: you got to develop an ear for sound. Now we're going beyond the music. Now we're getting into the sonics of things. Okay, so most people I notice, and I used to be a victim of it in the beginning, where we stayed in the red. So staying in the red, basically on your meter, if your volume is too high, it's gonna go in the red. If it's in the yellow, that's a warning for you to turn it down. Okay, if it's green, it's like, okay, it's decent room size. Don't go blasting the place out. If you have an engineer that's there, going into the engineers now. If you have an engineer that's there, when I used to run, I'll give you a perfect example with me. When I would go, when I do go into the red, an old engineer that I work with, basically, shout out to my buddy Flash, salute. Flash was one of the engineers that I used to work with once upon a time, and there was another guy before Flash that I worked with, but they pretty much knew with me. It's like, okay, Mr. Unique is gonna go into the red again. We got to put a compressor on him. When you have a compressor, it basically puts a gate on the sound, so it doesn't go over a certain decibel. Listen, when you're playing out, especially for intimate venues where it's corporate, it's a very upscale crowd, there's no need to jack the music up. Have it at a reasonable level. We're not playing a rave here. Okay, even with raves, they have a sound man or a sound person that puts a compressor on everything to where it's not bleeding people's ears or busting people's eardrums out. You don't want to do that. You want to have a nice comfortable sound. Now if you're trying to gain the power, because typically that's usually what it is, it's like they're trying to get a superior sound. What I would suggest is to have a bass bottom. That way that bass bottom is able to capture the sound at a level to where you don't have to turn it up, so to speak. Because I know that's what you guys want to do. You want to jack it all the way up, turn it up, and it's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We want to keep it at a moderate level. Now, even if it's like the room is packed, you don't have to drown the people out. Have a nice bass bottom. If you can have a good sound man that you work with, pay them so they can help navigate the sound, for you. Because a lot of times you're not, certain records sound different. Certain songs are mixed different. So once you have that compression on your sound, you're gonna be okay. All right. Don't drown don't get in the red. Keep that sound at a moderate level, especially when you're talking about intimate venues, corporate, holiday events. This is not a rave. Okay, again, you want to keep it at a comfortable level where people, especially when you're playing like bars, people want to have conversation. Yeah, girl, we gonna spill this tea or whatever. Y'all know how y'all talk. So, while they're over there spilling tea, you got the music all jacked up. So They spilling the tea all like, hey girl, yeah girl, I'm trying to spill this tea, but this tea they won't allow me to spill this tea because it's too loud. So, you know, bring it down a bit to where the people can hear themselves. You don't want it at library level, but at a comfortable level. Put it to you this way. Imagine you walking in and you heard that same sound. Hey, nobody. Had that same experience, and you're trying to talk to your buddy and the music is jacked up, right? You would feel uncomfortable. So keep the music at a moderate level. As the night, you know, gets packed and people get to dancing, you know, turn it up just a little bit. But again, don't jack the music up. Don't jack the volume up. Just make sure that your sound person or your sound, you know, you're working with the engineer that's doing the mixing for you as far as your sound is concerned. Or if they put you on a compressor, you don't have to jack the volume up. Just keep it at a moderate, comfortable level. And then again, with that bass bottom, it's going to sound much smoother. I promise you. So when you're investing in equipment, make sure you get a bass bottom. And back in the day, we used to have what's called L's, like this big L-shaped bass bottom. Nowadays, you don't really have to do that anymore. You can get a nice box size bass bottom, and it's comfortable. It's not in your face. It's nice. You know what I mean? This is for more intimate venues. When you're working in intimate venues, you don't have to have big bass bottoms in terms of capturing the sound, because the big bass bottoms are for arenas, big arenas, things of that nature. You're not doing that kind of party. There's actually a story that I once heard from a very credible source that told me that they had a big time producer come in and play at night at this bar, but where they made the mistake was they didn't realize that they were basically playing where there's an apartment complex. So guess who placed the call? You know, so you got to be careful of that. This person was so used to being on tour, they brought their rig, man. You know, and this is like a Regal Beagle kind of spot, you know, and this guy's jamming, man. He's jamming, you know. He has the bass going. It's like, yeah, you know, pump it up, man. You know, but then what happens is it's too loud. It's too much. It's overbearing. But again, this person was so used to is used to working big arenas where it's like 1,000, you know, over 10 to 20,000 people. They didn't think in terms of their crew to say, hey, wait a minute, let me hire a sound crew, or just check with the specs of that venue and say, hey, wait a minute, you know, I can work with the specs of that venue. So he was over drowning everybody. It was nice, I guess, for the people that were there, but it was too much. So you have to go according to the size of the room that you're playing in terms of what equipment that you need. Say, for instance, I'm giving y'all a free game, you do know that. But again, with that being said, you can actually hit me up for consultations, and we'll get you together. But in the meantime, DJASkey.com. But anyhow, less is more a lot of times. So you want to analyze the room that you're DJing in to where you're not drowning out the people who are trying to talk. Now, when it's dance time, it's a little bit different. But even then, you don't want to drown the people out. All right, in a minute, DJASkey.com.